turn this into somewhat of a 2024 guide. We'll kind of break down the further details of Music Mondays podcast, and try to answer a lot of the common questions that we get here on Music Mondays. Because we did one last year, and I just think this year it's going to be a lot easier for sure. So, sip of coffee. Let's talk. Um, Music Mondays curates submissions for the podcast on Twitter. Um, for a couple of major reasons. The first being that it's the easiest place to actually curate submissions, right? If you go on Instagram and you ask for a bunch of DMs, you're gonna get either A, glitch DMs, or B, a bunch of spam DMs that just are gonna make for a lot of hell. If you could put links in Instagram comments, maybe that'd be a different story. But the only like realistic way to curate submissions through Instagram would be DMs, and that's why we don't do it over there. Nobody really uses Reddit in the underground like that unless they're like a fan or a supporter. Facebook's kind of more for the older crowd. Um, and then you have, your up and coming platforms like Threads and Blue Sky that just aren't quite there yet in terms of submissions and things like that. So there's a couple factors as to why we do curate on Twitter, but that's the easiest is because it is very easy to create a thread and for everybody just to drop any kind of link they want to drop, right? If you want to drop a YouTube video, SoundCloud link, da 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 da, it's all in one place for us. And it's very easy for us to go through submissions. And again, we are a live show. This isn't recorded, nothing like that. It premieres on YouTube, yes, but we're always live every single Monday. So that's a big thing too. We like to keep the show free flow, and for our audio listeners, it's really easy for them to be able to follow along and things like that, right? Um, so we don't have to, click open a bunch of windows and do this, that, and the third. Oh, this guy's got a Dropbox link. Oh, it's in the Google Drive. I'm going to SoundCloud. I'm going to Instagram. I'm going, you know what I mean? So it keeps everything in one place and it makes the show pretty easy to follow along with. You know what I mean? So very, very, very important there. But that's the main reason that we do curate on Twitter. And of course, kind of another smaller reason, but the underground population and the independent artist population is relatively large on Twitter, and it still is, and it always has been, right? I've been on Twitter for close to 12 years. I've had my account since 2012, and it's always been a place for thriving fan bases and new up and coming creators. It always has been, and it always will be, right? Creators really run this platform, so it's very important. But that's why we do curate on Twitter. So, what's next? Tweets will always be in the same format in which we collect submissions. And they'll always read like this, and it's like the format on your screen right now for those that are watching the YouTube edition. But again, they'll always be in the same format. The only thing that changes is the date. For example, tweets will always read artists and creatives. Submissions are open for live reviews on Music Mondays, live on 1/29/24 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is here and now. So that's really the only thing that changes is the date, just to let you know what show you're submitting for. That way, it keeps things relatively easy for you. And then, of course, our Twitch link, twitch.tv/Zomb Slays, which is here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's definitely in the description. Make sure you're following the channel. If you'd like to submit your music, artwork, fashion, or digital creations, drop your links and portfolios below. So, contrary to our name, Music Mondays, we've reacted to everything, including music, right? So vocals, instrumentals, music videos, but even things deeper than that, right? So photography, video edits, YouTube edits, designs, merch, fashion, you name it, we've reacted to it here on the show, man. We've gone through so many different portfolios and um, spotlighted so many different creators, man. And the main reason for that is I knew when I started Music Mondays, being a creator myself for so long, I knew that um, there were so many talented people out there that were multi-talented, right? A lot of producers also do vocals, a lot of engineers also produce, a lot of designers also produce. So there are a lot of like multi-talented people hanging around, and I think it's definitely a good thing that we spotlight all of them here in the underground. So again, feel free to submit any type of work and never shy away from that. All art forms are welcome. And of course, 4-hour show limit. That's just to keep the show more palatable to watch back. Even a 3 to 4 hour podcast is still somewhat harder to watch back without actually just like putting it on the background or X, Y, or Z. But that's a lot shorter than our older shows, right? I think the first like couple hundred episodes in Music Mondays were some of them, not all of them, got to be like a lot longer length, right? I think like a like the longest show we ever did was like 6.5, maybe like 6 hours, if not 7. So yeah, that's just a little rough to watch back if you're a new artist and things like that, and if you just enjoy the show, right? So we're trying to find that sweet spot of either like 3 to 4 hours, but for right now, the show does have a 4 hour show limit, so um, of course, that was just put in place to, take a little bit of pressure off the Music Money staff and to be able to make the show a little bit more palatable to watch back. So, that's the reason for that. And then, of course, you must be following Music Mondays on Twitter to be eligible. What does that mean? Well, submissions are free. They always have been free. They always will be free. But the only thing that we do ask is that you're following Music Mondays on Twitter before you submit to not only spread our message and grow our community, but just to pay respect to everybody else that also submits their tracks and waits for their submissions to be reacted to each week. So, and of course, you gain access to a wide range of creatives and a very, very welcoming community. So just keep that in mind. And of course, again, submissions are free. So that's the only thing that we do ask. And of course, Patreon subscriber submissions are played first each week. So when we launched the Patreon around the same time is when we were actually setting a time limit on the show. So I knew once we set a time limit on the show that there's going to be some weeks where we just couldn't get through all the submissions. Maybe we had to cut the show short or things like that. So we created the Music Mondays Fast Pass, which you can only gain access to through the Music Mondays Patreon. We have a bunch of other goodies over there, depending on which tier that you pledge to. But the Music Mondays Fast Pass is at every tier and essentially grants you the ability to get your submissions played first and guaranteed to be played here on the show every single week. And of course, for the duration that you're pledged to the Music Mondays podcast. So that pretty much was a way to give people that really wanted their submissions played first at the start of the show. At our peak viewership, when most people tune into the show on YouTube, when most people are turning into the show on, audio platforms, that's the easiest way to get your submissions, first, right? Because a lot of people, click through rate and whatnot, you know what I mean? Super analytical stuff that we could talk about at another time. But it really grants you the ability to be able to be seen first, right? Instantly. So that's one of the bigger perks for the Music Mondays Fast Pass. But really, what it comes down to is a guaranteed submission, and we'll always go through your submissions first. So again, that's available at every tier on the Music Mondays Patreon. If you want more information, definitely go check that out. And we'll be doing a video relatively soon on the 2024 Patreon and what we're going to do for all of our current patrons over there for the rest of the year. But that's that. So our patrons will always be played first each week, and then we'll go through the rest of the community's submissions. And again, of course, if you have any further questions on that, definitely let us know. But that was an easier way to have people, get guaranteed submissions, right? So that was very important to us for those that actually wanted that. And then, of course, the only thing that you do need to know is submissions close right when the show goes live. So usually when the show goes live or a little bit before the show goes live, submissions close just so we can really get a head count and see what we're working with, right? For instance, if somebody comes in with like a super late submission and then messes up the order, because we just scroll down the line unless you're a Patreon, right? So somebody comes in with like a late submission and then they're like, oh, my bad, da 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 da, like it kind of messes up the order because we would have gotten to other people first, but because you're late, we had to cut through. So that's the reason for that. Right, and of course, again, it keeps the show free flow. We're able to kind of see what we're working with and what the show's going to look like for the night. So again, just keep that in mind. Submissions are open for pretty much 7 days. They don't close until that Monday. So roughly like 6 days or so, because submissions open every single Tuesday. So, for instance, we're live right now with the show. Submissions are closed, but submissions open tomorrow for next week's show. So today's January 29th. If you're wanting to submit for February 5th, those submissions will be live tomorrow. So that's the only thing you really got to know, right? As long as you get your submission in from Tuesday to Monday, you'll be good to go. So you have again roughly about 6 or so days to get your submissions in. So that's what's very important about that. But that's the basic rundown for the Music Mondays podcast and how we collect submissions in 2024. And of course, if anything changes, we'll be absolutely updating you guys immediately. But for right now, that's the format that we're going into the new year with. And of course, that's the format that we finished off the last year with. So again, if you have any further questions, you want to know anything about the show, definitely let us know. Leave a comment. And of course, if you're seeing this on YouTube, definitely drop a like and show us some love and subscribe if you have not already, motherfucker.